victory for Romania, unexpected perhaps as it was. And they're celebrating in style. It was some display. And maybe we've got goal of the tournament as well already. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, there's the group table for you shortly. Yeah, from the Munich Arena. And obviously just the one game played so far. But Romania probably didn't expect to be flying so high. Belgium and Slovakia to come just after this as well. But I hate when the table has the points first. I think your eye goes all the way to the end as you read a book or something, but that's just me, perhaps. Anyway, your thoughts on that, Kenny Cunningham?
Yeah, a little bit surprised in terms of how convincing the victory was for Romania. Really impressed with them. We knew before the tournament how defensively solid they were. They didn't give up too many goals, but they showed another strength to their bow this afternoon in terms of when the confidence began to flow through the team. They did offer a good attacking threat, and they were a good value for money for the 3-0 scoreline. You could see the scenes there afterwards, players celebrating with themselves and their supporters. I think their supporters are surprised how convincing the victory was, but they thoroughly deserved it in every aspect of the game. They literally put Ukraine to the sword. Bitterly disappointed with that Ukraine performance. We didn't see that coming. But congratulations to Romania and that man in particular. As you've mentioned, Tony, that new Spurs centre-half of the next 10 years.
You can't get into Tottenham at the moment.
No, we can't,
enough.
Yeah, understandably so. But I think he was bought as one for the future. But yeah, he was outstanding today, the heart of that Romanian defence. Really led the team. He was a real leader on the pitch, and Romania had a number of those players today, not so many in Ukrainian jerseys.
Was that a surprise? Because you mentioned as well that, you know, the weight of responsibility on the Ukrainian shoulders because of the war. It's something that Zinchenko had mentioned and a number of others. Was that a big deal for them, that maybe it's a burden too heavy to carry?
Possibly. I mean, it's very hard to quantify if it is or it isn't. I think when you look at today's performance, you know, they dominated the early spells of the game. Romania were very solid in their defensive structure. They were almost controlling the game without the ball. And then once they got a foothold in the game, Ukraine just didn't seem to really have any answers, and the players that are, I suppose, the star players in the team didn't really come up with the solutions and the moments of quality that you would normally expect from them. In fact, it was the opposite way around. The players who showed those real moments of quality were in the Romanian team, who probably we weren't expecting to see that from. I think the front four for Romania of Man, Dragusin, Stanciu and Coleman on the left, they were really, really impressive. And I think Marius Marin, the number 6, sitting in deep, he did a brilliant job of just mopping up balls and winning dirty ball in the middle of the park. And the two boys, Andrei Burka and Dragusin, the two centre-backs, were really good. So the whole spine of the Romanian team was really good. And then once they got into the final third, they were really, really good. They were smart, they were clever, their interactions were really good, and they had a bit of quality as well.
Have Ukraine gone to the well once too often, though? I mean, in their playoffs, they had to get late goals to win them both, playing away from home all the time. Is this just a journey too far?
Like I said, I think it's really hard to quantify that. Unless you're in and around the group, you don't know what the energy is, the mental energy, the physical energy. But I think the players themselves will be very disappointed with that performance today, because they probably expected more themselves. And you're coming into the tournament, yes, you probably are carrying that weight of all the extra stuff. But I think when you're in camp, you do kind of get into the zone of the game very quickly. In professional football, or these are professional players, but they just didn't look like they had huge amounts of energy today. And like I said, it's difficult to speculate as to why that is.
I think it's part of it, Tony, but you can't doesn't excuse that performance today. It just wasn't good enough. And that dressing room after the game, talk about deflation in that dressing room. We spoke about the responsibility on the shoulders of those players. What was at stake today? They really will feel as if they've let themselves down and their countrymen down today. So I think, me personally, I think looked like it's an emotionally drained shot, but still didn't excuse that performance today. Nowhere near good enough.
And they have to play Slovakia on Friday. Romania will get an extra day's rest, which will help them when they play Belgium. So that'll make a difference.
Yeah, the whole, Romania now, 3 goals, the goal difference. In fact, 3 teams go through, pressure's off them, they only need a point. probably to get through now. I just checking my notes there from last week when knew I was doing this game and talking about Romania. Have 4-0 in the last few months, the latest against Liechtenstein, struggle to score goals, players are not playing for their clubs, they're undisciplined. Saw none of that today. They were brilliant, full of energy, full of enthusiasm. It felt like Ukraine felt, looking at it, that they just had to turn up, they have the star players. And they didn't. Mudryk didn't turn up, Dovbyk didn't turn up, Zinchenko was poor, Lunin in goal, you could blame him for a couple of the goals. They're big names, didn't turn up, whether they're tired or whatever. You can make excuses for them, but they just didn't play well. And Romania all over the pitch. Got back in numbers, but when they went forward, positive. Players got forward, energy, took shots from distance, and fabulous technical bit of ability to score impressive goals as well. On top of that, you have to have that bit of skill to score as well. There's no point in having players on the pitch running around and not being able to put the ball in the net. But they did that. 3 goals and well worthy winners.
We'll have a look at all the action and we'll analyse it in a bit more detail, but just very briefly, I mentioned it there. Have we seen a contender for goal of the tournament already?
It'll be up there. We usually get a few. But just the one on that one, when we see it in slow motion, it was bobbling as he came to him, which, adds that extra 25% of difficulty. It was a lovely strike. Power, but also caressed. He just hugged that ball the way he struck it. Perfect, fabulous ability. But the little bobble on it makes it that little bit harder, so it'll be up there.
The possible goal of the tournament, we'll have a look at that a little bit later on. But I suppose to emphasise their superiority, the second goal was a really important one.
Yeah, technically it was a really, really great strike and came at a really good time quite early in the second half. You see here, Dragusin, I think it is, does really, really well trying to drive the ball right back. Then Achu picks it up. Then Dennis Mann tries to bring it across. And Razvan Marin, he's just in that perfect position, that holding midfield, similar to what Stanciu does. And he gets there, he makes the run, and he makes sure that he's in that little bit of a hole there just behind to keep the ball alive. But what a strike that is. Now, we see on the replay, Lunin won't want to see this one ever again. I think, his hands are not strong. He doesn't get them down quick enough. Maybe he misjudges it. But it's technically, it's a really, really beautiful strike. And that's one of the players in this Romania team that's not getting much game time with his club, with Empoli in Italy. But he just looked really on fire today. He played
Lunin didn't really do himself any great favours today, did he? Especially the mistake in the first half as well.
Yeah, I don't think he'll really enjoy watching back either of the first 2 goals, and even for Stanciu's attempt at the Olympico from the corner. He probably sees his position and he commits very much to the front post area, and the whip he gets on the ball. But
what about the protection though, Lacey's getting in front? Shaparenko there, like missing the tackle, turning his
back. No,
I
agree with you, but I still think you expect your goalkeeper to be able to make contact with both of those. Better contact than he's made there, regardless of the stuff that happens in front of you. I think the defending was poor, and we can see so many examples of it. But if you're a goalkeeper at that level, you'll never want to see either of those 2 again.
Kevin, let's look at the third goal, Dennis Dragusin.
Yeah, speaking of bad defending, watch here at the short corner. It's the basics that Ukraine didn't get right today. And again, Mudryk is involved in it. We were discussing him at half-time. He's been poor, comes out. It's Mudryk and Shaparenko. They get done so easily. Shaparenko turns his back, and I'm delighted for Dragusin. Did a lot of work. This man has the shot, a cross shot. Looked like it might have been offside, but Dragusin went through a lot of work. And as a centre forward, you go through that work. You make those channel runs. You fight and you hold the ball up to hope at some stage in the game you might get that 2-yard tap in. That bit of luck comes your way for all that effort and energy you put in, which he did. Fabulous game. He's his 3rd or 4th international goal. But again, Ukraine's defending there. Mudryk just doesn't care, doesn't seem to.
And that short corner, we've seen that recently a lot, haven't we? And you think that people would have copped onto that by
Italy
now.
Against Albania, the same thing. Short corner, sent 1 out in that game tonight, 1 out. But they get 1 out, OK, it's the next person that comes along.
Happened against Ireland recently as well.
Yeah, it's basics in football. The real basics, the easy things to practice and train to defend set pieces seem to be lately, anyway, and in this tournament so far, going out again.
Yeah, but you talk about the base, even the basics. Zinchenko there in the 6-yard box, he's closer to Dragusin when he puts the ball into the net. So 2 seconds before that, they're both physically fighting for that space inside the 6-yard box. That just comes down to desire. He's meant to be a defender, Zinchenko. He must realise he's got to put his body between Dragusin and the goal there. Just doesn't want it.
You were expecting more from him, really, weren't you?
Yeah, we'll speak about Zinchenko in a minute, but we could point fingers all over the pitch. At least it's referenced the goalkeeper. You could tear that defensive structure apart. Like the front four, we're expecting so much today, didn't produce in any respect. So, yeah, all over the pitch. Red will be scratching his head in terms of trying to pick a starting 11 for the next game. The next game was so bad.
And what was it about Zinchenko that most disappointed you?
Attitude. He's been a poster boy for this Ukrainian team the past couple of years, up front and centre, very vocal. He's got very emotional at times, and understandably so, in terms of the position he's in and the players in relation to the situation back in Ukraine. And he's spoken about the responsibility on the players. They feel it in terms of what's expected of them when they go onto the pitch. And they were in a difficult spot at half-time. Ukraine weren't playing well. And we'll show these two examples of Zinchenko's second half. Look at him trying to defend this cross. He doesn't. He gives it up 10 seconds. And this early in the second half, when as a leader in the team, he's got to put down a marker. He's got to show an example. Throws out his left leg there. Look, gives up. He's walking again. That's not good enough, Tony. That really isn't. He's got to take leadership there and say, I'm going to send out a message the second half. I'm going to make a tackle. I'm going to be aggressive. You know, I'm going to send a message to the other players. I'm turning up for the second half. Follow me, lads. You know what I mean? My attitude is going to be spot on. And it wasn't. It looked like he's feeling sorry for himself a little bit playing left back. Doesn't want to play left back. He wants to play in kind of central midfield. Didn't like his body language today. I thought his attitude was all wrong. I think he has to be called out. I think it's too easy to say the situation in the country, historically, we know what's going on there, but that wasn't good enough today. And you can point the finger at all of those players, but him in particular, and he's a leader in that team, nowhere near good enough from him today.
In contrast, Kev, the most expensive Romanian player of all time can't get into the Tottenham team. He showed leadership today, didn't he, Dragusin?
He was excellent, like they all were, and he grew into the game as it went on more and more. This is second half, it's 2 or 3-0 up at this stage. They just defended a corner and he's up. I think it's the 70th minute, winning a free kick far into the pitch. He was throwing himself at everything, winning tackles, timing stuff right. Watch him here, he's a little bit out of position, sprints to get back in, wins it at the front post. Knew he'd done a good job. He was up for it.
He's only 22.
He's 22. This one here, he gets the first header. Does really well because behind him it was going to be a simple finish. 30 million or close to it, I think Spurs paid 25 million. If they can get this out of him next season, there's talks of Spurs losing their centre half to Madrid. He could be the replacement for him. He came in right near the end of the season for Spurs, played a couple of games, but he hasn't really shown for them. But in this game, you can see
it's almost like Postecoglou doesn't quite trust him
yeah,
yet. But maybe this tournament will help him.
It's hard when you come in halfway through a season, come in January like that, and things weren't going great for Spurs in the second half of the season. He probably just didn't want to make another change. Let him get his feet under the table, come in, live in London, move or whatever, get all that out of the way and be ready for next season.
I think I need to ask our hair consultant about this one. The Gareth Bale sort of way he dresses his hair. What do you think, Kenny?
You better not come to me on this. Graham referred to me as old school, so I think you know what the old school answer is going to be from centre-half union. Yeah, not for me, to be honest with you, but I'd rather concentrate on the individual qualities which he's shown. You spoke about why he hasn't played for Spurs. No disrespect to him not being able to get into the team ahead of Romero and Mickey van de Ven. That partnership's as strong as anything. So, and I think a tournament like this sometimes it can give you actually confidence. That's a big move to Tottenham. Maybe he kind of doubted himself a little bit, didn't get the amount of minutes that he wanted. But coming to a tournament like this and excelling like he has, I know it's early in the tournament, but you can really take your game to the next level, and Spurs might benefit from that.
Now they have Belgium next. We're going to see Belgium in our next game today. But having got the 3 goals and the 3 points, I mean, I won't call it a free shot, but it's a much better proposition for them now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think psychologically it's great. Spoke about the tournament. If you lose the first game, not the biggest blow in the world. You only have to win one, but certainly if you get a win in that first game, it's absolutely fantastic. I think even the manager looking at the next game, does he even make 1 or 2 changes to the team? I think you want to involve as much as the squad in the tournament as early as possible, Tony. Something people don't talk about too much. Players not getting any game time, getting frustrated as the tournament goes on, really not feeling part of it. I mean, Kev probably experienced that a little bit. That can be a danger, like a little bit of fragmentation in the dressing room. Chins are going down. So maybe an opportunity even for the Romanian manager to make a few changes. Second game, get more players involved and really build on that kind of team unity which we saw at the end of the game today.
I think as well, though, I think what will happen as a result of this game, I think Belgium will look at Romania slightly differently than they might have done prior to this game. I think sometimes when you go into a tournament, you'll have all your homework done on the different teams and what you're going to expect from them. But I think when you look at Romania's performance today, I think everyone will have learned a bit about Romania today that they didn't necessarily know coming into the tournament.
Respect.
Absolutely. And you almost don't want that if you're the Romania manager. Do you know what I mean? So that's one of the consequences that will come as a result of this game today.
Let's look back on the opening goal of the game, Stanchu, and as I said, possibly a goal of the season, goal of the tournament contender. Your thoughts, Lisa?
Yeah, look, I'm a fan of this player. When I was looking back on Romania, I just thought he's one of those players. I just love a player that has a really nice strike technique. They can, move the ball, get the power into it. It comes as a result of, it's not the most intense high press of all time, which probably says a lot about Ukraine's form today, but just the technique. And more for me is his positioning in the build-up to this and the role he plays as that kind of attacking midfielder. He's always loitering around the box, being the support player and letting the other three front boys get on with the job, but he's always there to make sure that if the play breaks down, he can mop it up, restart the attack. And but he's so clever, the way he moves all the time, his awareness, and as soon as Dennis Mann wins the ball, he knows he's there, little ball across to him, and he's a fabulous player, and they're the types of goals you want to see in tournament football. That's what we watch it for.
It looks more like Beckham, doesn't it, every time I see it? Yeah. That kind of shape, Kev, that Beckham used to put on the ball, the kind of instep and generate that kind of power, kind of control finish.
A young good. Kevin Doyle will be practising that for the rest of the month.
He could do it with his left foot.
Wasn't a left foot swinger. But when you see him shaping up to it, he has that much time. It's like he's setting his body like it's a free kick, like it's a set piece. He's able to get himself in that position, shape his body correctly, but fabulous finish.
Okay.